Joining.
Hi, Laura.
So it's 11 o'clock, so we are going to start. So first of all, I want to thank one of our local EFT therapists and supervisor candidates who send me a quick email saying, help, I don't know what to do with these escalated couples online. And I thought, hey, we have resources in the community, and let's just do this quickly. And we apologize for all the wrong links and confusing emails, because that's what happens when you try to do it too fast. But it felt like it was needed quickly. So here we are, we're doing it, we made it happen. So we're grateful that everybody's joining us. I first want to say something about what the goal is for today. You know, we're living in very challenging times, both because many of us are working online and doing I was going to call it physical distancing, because we don't want to distance socially. But many of us are working from home or isolated physically, and it's really challenging. And we want to help you to think about how to be more effective and not go crazy with your clients, couples, particularly doing EFT online. So you're probably getting a lot of resources about technology, etc. So we're not going to spend time today on that. Okay, I'm just gonna put it out there. This is really clinically oriented. We will spend a little bit of time talking about setting up the sessions online as part of the clinical approach, and then we'll spend considerable time talking about how to work with escalation, which means a lot of emotion or no emotion, right? Because that's also escalation, as you know. And then how to contain, how to deal with that. And then we will also talk about how to continue doing more, deeper work, how to work with emotions online, what might be a little bit different. So I'm excited to learn. And I will have Simona and Irina introduce themselves. But before that, I just want to say, this morning, as I was getting ready, I realized all three of us come from formerly communist countries. Irina grew up in Russia. I grew up in Ukraine. Simona is in Romania. So we are very familiar with circumstances where you don't have a lot of control over what's happening, where you might be confused and unhappy by what the government is doing, and we're also familiar with the kind of community and support people are capable of, which is, this today is a testament. I just sent a text to Simona and to Irina, said, do you want to do this? And here we are. So I'm very grateful for that experience. And I will let Simona, why don't we start with you, introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. And thank you, Zoya, for inviting me. Yes, it's true. I was thinking while you were talking that coming from these countries, I guess we have this mentality, like we need to make it work. No matter what, we need to make it work. And I guess these times that we are living on, we need to make it work. Yeah. So my name is Simona Herb. I live in Romania. I work in Romania. I found out about EFT like a couple years ago, like 10 years ago, and I fell totally in love with EFT. So I started my training, and my dream was to bring EFT in Romania. In the meantime, I became a certified trainer in EFT. And in Romania, we have like more than 300 people that join externship and core skills, and they are just totally in love with EFT and attachment. And I think that's a great thing, especially in these times that we are now, and we are
And I
challenged.
can and I can attest, as I trained with Simona in Romania, people are really love it and very engaging. And I think you did a beautiful job there building it. And you do a lot of work online.
Yes, I'm doing a lot of work online because there are a lot of Romanians that live abroad and they need help and they need help, and it's more natural for them to ask help from a Romanian person, of course.
Of course.
Therapist.
Great. Thank you. Irina, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited and happy to be here and to support everyone in the community in this new challenge. And maybe it's because our background, and despite the fact that we're all going through a very stressful, very challenging time, everything is sort of upside down right now. There's also, I keep noticing in myself this feeling of excitement about how will it all shape up. And I think it's really the fact that it's right now we're pushed as a field into the online space. It's an opportunity, and I think it really will shift the landscape and maybe even our work. And curious to see how it unfolds, and really happy to support the community and work with everyone in this field. I am a clinical psychologist, and I work in New York City. And for the past almost 8 years now, part of my work, and a big part of my work, is at NYU Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic, which I directed and led for about 5 or 4.5 years. And maybe a year ago, I transferred to more of a clinical role as I grow also my private practice. So, and in both fields, I work with a lot of couples, and absolutely in love with EFT, and was very fortunate and honored to be trained and supervised by Zoya. And so and that's how I think she infected me with the EFT passion and love, and I continue now to train other clinicians in our clinic and beyond, and in New York City as well. And Laura, I see, is writing. So Laura Price actually is one of the listeners right now, and she is the coordinator for our telehealth program at the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic. We do have a lot of online work that happens at the clinic with veterans and their families, and also I do quite a bit of that in my private practice. So happy to be here and happy to share what I've been finding out through my work.
Thank you, guys. And yes, I can definitely speak to the quality of work that people are doing at the Military Family Clinic and spreading really making this more accessible. So my apologies, I was trying to fix something. I thought more people can watch the video in addition to the 100 participants, but something has gone wrong, and so I apologize in advance. This is my first time doing webinar, so we will learn. The recording will be available. So what I would like to start is, first of all, to say, this week, as I started doing online work all week long, I found it very difficult and very challenging. I found myself using more energy and trying hard and feeling more exhausted, and on top of that, dealing with sort of personal stuff and not being able to do my regular exercise and dancing and all of that. So it's been a hard week, and I think, first of all, we really need to be self-compassionate and take care of ourselves, and not to expect ourselves to get it right on the first online session. And if things go wrong, it's okay. They go wrong, and we will learn from it, and our couples are resilient and forgiving. I hope. I think they will be. So please, please, please keep that in mind. So again, we're not going to focus on the self-care or how to, each of us will figure out our own way of taking care of ourselves physically and emotionally to be more present for our families and for our clients. So the first thing I want to ask you guys, sort of what do you do, what do you say to your clients, and what do you need for the setup in terms of kind of physical setup and kind of heads up to our clients at the beginning of doing this work online, especially if you haven't done it. So maybe I'll start with you, Simona. Tell us what you say to clients. What do you do?
Yeah, so I mean, before starting to work online, I need to say that I was a bit resistant about working online. Like, you know, there is not the actual work, or is not real, or not as in face-to-face. And actually working, and that's, you know, I guess this is encouraging for everybody. I learned that actually it is real, and people really grow and really, you know, can have help. So this is what I learned. And to your question, Zoya, first I try to recreate in an online environment what is on face-to-face, yeah, as much as possible. Like, I tell to my clients from the beginning that you know, I would like them to sit down, you know, on a couch or on chairs, or, you know, not lying down in the bed, because that's, you know, like they would come to my office and I invite them to sit down on the couch, yeah, or you know, to, you know, not to get very late, or, you know, start to eat food, and, you know, everything that can create this kind of environment that is inviting. We are here, you know, it's still, we are doing health care, yeah, it's so that I'm there for them, and I'm the specialist, but we are like in an office. It's just each of us is at, you know, at their office or at their house. But it's important that they have this time and they create this environment like in the office, to have, I don't know, to be able not to have children around, because for that, you know, it's not the best idea, yeah. To have the time, not to have the phone all the time, because you see, even right now, I mean, not seeing everything can lead that some of them, they work on their phones, which of course is not good for creating the connections that we really need in EFT, you know. So, and then I tell them to have a proper distance, like we have now, that I can see their bodies, you know, that I can see not just the part of the face. That's important, because we work with emotions. We really need to be very attentive to all the signals. So, you know, I try the best I can to recreate the environment from the office in this online environment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I definitely this week had a couple sessions with people in their bed. You know, so this is a good thought to. And I feel like this week is a transitional week, so everybody's in crisis. I didn't wanna. I wanted to keep the alliance going, but I think moving in the future, I am gonna do what you suggested. How about you, Irina? What else do you see?
Yeah, so I completely agree about encouraging our clients to have a protected space, right? And really create a space, virtual space in which we can work in a very kind of honored and in a protected way. It's interesting because you brought up bedrooms. So I certainly have had unexpected sort of suddenly an image on a screen where the client might be not fully dressed or in bed, and it definitely shifts a dynamic. It also, this space, the online space, is very interesting, and I think we're still exploring it, because yes, on the one hand, we are not in the same room, and it is a bit more distant perhaps on some level, because physically our bodies maybe energetically not like reading off each other in the same way. At the same time, it creates, in many cases that I'm hearing now and I've experienced myself, it's almost like more vulnerability when they're able to be in the bedroom, for example, in the bed, and suddenly we are with them in the bed, right, on the screen. What does that mean for our work? And so on the one hand, or even if we're going to take them out of the bed in a protected space in their living room, let's say, but they're still in their home. And I think that's something, it's like by itself introduces this piece of vulnerability and a touch of their even more authenticity than in the office. So I do agree that we need to create a space where we can honor sort of our work together. It's not just like, let's FaceTime mom or let's FaceTime uncle.
Right.
It's a therapeutic environment still. And I think it's good to talk through. Another thing that I think experienced quite a bit, not everyone has a really nice
setup, and she just froze.
Go ahead, that's a thing that can happen, another thing that it's a challenge actually, and it's all the time a challenge to reconnect emotionally, I would say, is such a happening like right now. So the connection is off. And
this is a perfect example.
And you are, I mean, maybe you are in a very intense emotional moment and you need just to go on, you just repeat what happened and you go in the, in the same feeling again, but it can happen.
Right. Here we are, and now, and here's an example of something that would be good to do for setup ahead of time to agree. What do you do if the connection gets disrupted? So we have created a little, WhatsApp group, and I just sent a message to Irina to say, hey, we lost you. So it's, it's a way to kind of be ready for it, because it will happen. It's not unusual. Which number will you text, and what's the backup? So there's predictability. But go ahead.
Such a group on WhatsApp is very important, where both partners can see in the same time, I lost the connection, and if they cannot reconnect because of a lot of technical issues, which really can happen, we have to be aware, I can write them like, okay, don't worry, don't panic, it was such an intense emotion moment, and I can read such a sentence to, at least to finalize, to summarize. I cannot leave them on the air if they cannot reconnect, just on Zoom.
Right. I was also thinking that we definitely want kind of to create the best setup, but we also need to be aware that especially now, for some people, the limitations, if they are children in the home and they have a one bedroom, depending on their financial situation, right? People live with large families, or maybe they had to move in with the family. The privacy, all of that is gonna be more challenging. So to get creative, I had a session with someone on the roof, or maybe we might have to sometimes turn off the video, or use some kind of make yourself noise machine at the by the door to their bathroom, so they we do want to be available and flexible if there are limitations. At the same time, right, to be aware that sometimes those limitations are used kind of to avoid the work, so it's gonna vary from person to person.
Right. So we try, I mean, I would say it's the ideal to be able to recreate this environment. But as Sue says, sometimes even bad EFT is better than non-EFT. We are doing anyway good EFT. So sometimes not ideal environment is still much better than not having help.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there she is. You were perfect. You demonstrated what to do when there's technological difficulties.
You troubleshoot, exactly.
Exactly.
This is what happens in real life.
Yeah.
We're experiential models.
Yeah.
And here it is.
That's right. That's right.
I apologize. Here I am.
No. That's okay. We just talked about how to actually set it up. So if there's technical difficulties, to have a join WhatsApp group or something else.
That's
and how
great.
to
Yeah.
be more flexible if people have financial limitations, space limitations. So culture and where they come from also makes a big difference. So.
Absolutely.
And maybe that would be another topic for a webinar. So anything else about the setup, or I'd like to move towards the talking about the escalation and how to manage either a lot of emotion or when someone doesn't have much. So maybe right now I'll start with Simona, okay? So tell us, what do you do with the couple that suddenly starts sort of yelling and escalating? I had a moment like that this week, so I was like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically we do what we do normally. Yes, of course, we reflect, we try to, to interfere and to direct, and to see what's happening. We stop them. So, okay, just a minute, just so we use everything that we know for escalated couples. But of course, there are things that we cannot do, like going physical between them too, as Sue showed us many times, so just go between them too. How do I do this? So sometimes I use my body to go a bit in front, but not, of course, not very in front, because this can be aggressive, not like this, that's not good. But like, hey, I'm sorry, please, can you just stop just a bit? Just, I know something it happened, but just going in front, that means I'm like I would go in my office between them. Because we need to do such interventions. So another thing, when they escalate and one of them leaves the room, because this can happen being in their own apartment, so it's their house. Exactly, I would do what I would do in my office. I mean, I don't continue. It's like I say, okay, I cannot go after the person, but I say, look, we can, take a break, or, if you can call your partner. I mean, that everybody has the same knowledge. We don't discuss, things with just one partner, the other not being there, or the partner chooses to stop, and I can write on their group, as you were talking before. And of course then they come back and we can process what happened. Because again, it's in their house, it's suddenly they can go in another room, because it's too hot there, too escalated. So they are, I mean, I don't want to teach EFT, but EFT online, like, what are the differences, what can you do, with your body, with the language. I would talk more because I cannot touch. So this is why maybe you felt more tired, Zoya, because actually we use more words. I mean, a lot of our energy is to stay there, like, okay, let me see what happens, you guys, okay, can we stop, all this summarizing and reframing. It's more than when we are face to face, where we can touch and we can change the energy by our energy.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And also, even right now, what I've learned is that, they don't, in the office, I can hold somebody with their gaze, right? If one is getting escalated, I can sort of show, I see you. And here, they don't really know who I'm looking at. So I found myself using their names a lot more to say, I see you. Yes, you, Rebecca, or you, Frank. I know right now it's difficult when in the regular room I might just take up, I might just look. Here I actually have to use a lot more words and their
Yeah.
names. Every time I validate, I still have to add not just you, but you, Rebecca, feel, you,
Yes.
Rebecca, are saying, so they're clear that I am talking to them.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm gonna unmute Irina.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so how about you? What
Yeah,
kind of strategies?
I think this is pretty much what you're saying is the key here, and the reliance on the verbal channel um, probably happens the most in this modality. Absolutely, and I think that takes energy because in a way we have to do this gymnastics with ourselves, right? Because we have to rechannel all other methods of communication that come naturally through the body, through gestures, through leaning forward or backwards, and picking up, right? Maybe in the room, we can actually
Right.
pick up more subtle steps of escalation, whereas on the screen, we may miss that, and then it goes faster. I also give people heads up a little bit ahead of time that because I am on a screen, sometimes I may miss some gestures or your reactions, so I will maybe ask a little bit more, right? What happened for you? And I will use my language a bit more because I really want to understand what's happening. I really don't want to lose track of what's happening because I'm not in a room with you,
I
and
love,
that seems
yeah,
to help.
yeah. I love what you're saying because this is really very EFT. It's about transparency,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that. This is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm doing.
exactly.
Yesterday, I think I found myself saying, "Guys, I'm struggling here. This is really hard. You have to help me because This is hard for me to see what's going on, or it's hard for me, to do this.
Yeah,
So forgive me. I'm gonna repeat myself
yeah,
for the 17th time, even though I would
right.
do it anyway. So,
We may be more explicit in our kind of
yes,
interventions. And it's interesting because we're right now talking, of course, about video sessions, but I've had, a variation of different non-face-to-face sessions, and one of them was when it was a phone session with a highly escalated couple, and they were in separate spaces. We had a conference call, and it went surprisingly well because it actually separated them and allowed them to hear each other in a very different way, which I was kind of surprised. I wanted to have a session with them, but I was also very cautious about the setup. It wasn't our regular setup, but I needed to check in with them. But I had to use a lot because I was totally blind to their reactions. So I had to say, you help me. What's happening right now? Because I don't see you. How is it landing on you? Help me
right.
understand what's happening.
It's a very good point. Actually, I'll just be honest, I'm very resistant to doing what you did because I've done it once and I hated it. So I just said, I'm never doing it again. It's too hard. But I had a couple who told me they're newish, and they told me this week that they used to do, when things were really tough, they were working with another therapist, and they used to do these phone sessions. And the wife said, I actually found it very good for me because I was paying more attention and focusing more, and rather than sort of do all
Exactly.
the other input. So it's
Perhaps
interesting,
it keeps the frontal lobe more online because you have to use
right?
executive functioning more. It's good
So
and bad.
Of course.
here's a quick one. So one of my couples, again, unexpectedly, when we started on Zoom, I realized they were calling in from 2 separate rooms, even though they're in the same house, which was kind of like surprise. So I was a little startled, and we had to kind of figure out, and I made my decision with them. But I'm curious, what would you do in that situation? Have you done this, and what reasons you might choose to do that?
Well, I can say that I would put them in the same room. Because one thing, and I'm curious to hear from other panelists, but one thing that's really hard in my experience is if we do a conference call and 3 different windows on the screen, enactment, it's just really hard to do, because then it's really confusing who is looking at whom, and there's a lot lost, I think. But maybe Simona, I'm curious how you handle it. But whenever I can, I put people in the same space, or I've had actually many sessions with different couples where one is with me physically. Right now it's impossible because we're socially distancing or physically distancing, but another one is on the screen. And in that case, they can communicate directly, and enactments are flowing quite well, and things seem to be less interrupted.
Right. I did decide, I did ask them after processing why, I did ask them to be in the same room, but we had to do accommodations because one partner who really struggles with physical pain and also sensitivity to sound was really overwhelmed by the sound and his closeness to her, because usually in my office they sit a little bit further. So we had to accommodate. We had to adjust halfway through the session. I had to check in until we got sort of the middle ground. How about you, Simona? What?
I mean, if they are in the same house, I would like them to come in the same room, in the same space, of course, and this is what I did. Except once when they were very escalated and they were threatening to hit each other. And they were kind of, I mean, because you see this separation actually it just helps because they are not continuous trigger for each other. When it's so escalated that can lead to violence, to physical violence, which we don't want. And they know they don't want it either, actually. We know this. They don't want it, but they just cannot control it. So in that case, I allow them to process in separate rooms because they said it's safer for us. I mean, and I honored this awareness that it's safer, and they wanted to foster this safetiness for a while to process. And then, of course, I mean, the next session we did them together, and I had couple, I mean, even from 2 continents, like Australia or New Zealand and US. So another challenge is the hour, that we all, I'm in Europe, New Zealand, US, to have, 1 hour that could be together. And they did as well enactments. And of course, I agree here with Irina. I mean, it's not the same. And still, it was everything that we could do because they were living on different countries so far apart, and they were really in need. So, just when you were talking, guys, I mean, like you, Irina, saying that you had somebody physically in the session and somebody on a screen or on phones, I'm thinking, I mean, this technology actually helped us,
it's incredible,
to help people in incredible ways.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad, Simona, you gave the example of the couple who were trying to stay safe. And this is something, when we're working with couples, which I know all of us, whether we know it or not, have couples who have potential for physical, intimate, partner violence. And we do work with that because it's often about the attachment panic and attachment distress. So when you are doing the setup and you have concerns about this this situation arising during the session, what if something happens and they hang up on you? It would be good to have contact information, emergency contact or where they're located. And of course, and again, we don't have time for that, but each state, each country has their own laws and regulations, but think ahead to be prepared. You can't be prepared for everything, but this is another thing that might be good to have any emergency contact ahead of time and have them handy.
Yeah.
So the other piece, when we're talking a lot about escalation, but what about when somebody's sort of, withdrawers who are not talking and who are kind of a bit still face, which is also a sign of escalation? What strategy have you found in working online with that presentation? I'll start with you, Irina.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting because at times the more still-faced or withdrawn partners may feel a little more comfortable on the screen because it creates a little bit of a distance to actually come out a bit more. So that's something that at times surprises us as providers, but it can happen, and it can work for our benefit because there is no kind of this physical pressure in the room to come out. So that's when video maybe work for our benefit, but it doesn't often happen, right? And sometimes it doesn't happen, and sometimes we do have that distance or withdrawn or silence that happens. And what I do is what I always do, the same as in the room, right? You create alliance, you use your empathic conjectures, you use a lot of verbal interventions, you use this kind of soft empathic silence, you check in with them, just as you would kind of when you work face-to-face physically. I've also had situations where individual sessions with a more withdrawn, distant partner, that's when they come out more, and I can maybe, if I have opportunity to do individual sessions or even in joint sessions, I can also maybe discuss with them on the screen, how can I help you best to feel comfortable here, right? Because I'm not in a room with you, yet I want to support you the best way I can. And so when, for example, you struggle for words or when it's so hard to come out, how can I help you? And again, I'm not sure if they can give me specific tools to help them, but at least it's an invitation that I'm here, I'm still there, we're building that secure base. I'm still in their court, and I'm going to help them come out and draw them out. But I may have to be more explicit in that and kind of reinforce that position more with them. Right.
Again, to build and continuously build alliance and make the space safer. Yeah. Great. How about you, Simona?
Yeah, I would say the same. I was thinking, and I don't find something really specific. Just working with a more withdrawn partner online, comparing with what I do in face-to-face sessions. But again, I go back to the verbal. I would use a lot of more words than I would normally use, because even the silence, and I use a lot of the silence, I give space, I create space, but I need to take care about the the pursuer or the partner that wants to interfere. And if I can do this with my face, with looking in the face-to-face sessions, or just touching the pursuer partner and calming down, or like giving sign, I'm here, it's okay, let's just wait. I cannot do this online. So I use, again, this is why you have to be even more focused to see all the non-verbal cues. And I see when the anxiety comes, and I say, I see you, it's okay, I will come to you, as we said, I say the name, like, I will come to you. I will be back to you, Rebecca. Just wait a bit.
Right.
And I stay, you know, like this. I create this space where the more withdrawn partner can have its time, his or her time, to think, to come up with words, or I help with words. But again, as well, with words, I need to, you know, to reassure the other partner, I see you, I know there are a lot of things going on in this moment. I cannot touch you. You don't know if I look at you, and when I look at you, I say, I'm telling you, actually, I see you. I know you want to say so many things. So I need to speak, you know, I need to use my words to say, just a moment. I know there are so many things to say. Please just wait. And, you know, like, John, can you now, you know, let's go back. And you're telling me that you don't even know what you feel. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that explicit. I see you, even if you can't tell that I'm looking at you. I see you. I care about you, and let's make some room. This is why I'm creating the space for your partner, because we can never sort of figure it out. You know? Yeah. I love that. I think one other element that might be helpful when it's not terribly escalated, to maybe to use the partner to ask them, you know, so what are you noticing right now in the, you know, on his face or in his body that I might not be able to see? Can you tell me, if they're in less escalated place, they might tell us, well, you know, he has that look when he gets scared or something else, which may give me extra information.
I like how sort of both comments reflect that when we work with more distant or withdrawn partners, we use their other partner. We really actually a lot of times work with their other partner to find a channel or a portal into their experience.
Yeah. So I want to go ahead.
Yeah, just another thing that I heard Sue saying and advising. So I took it, of course. And if they are not very escalated, it works very much. For instance, when we want to, as I said, like to say, it's hard for you, I see it, or to show empathy. And in office, we would touch the person. I heard Sue saying that uses the partner, saying, can you touch her for me? You know, I mean, so not in very escalated couples, but in, you know, couples that are there and like, you know, can you feel the touch? It's from me. Saying, I'm so sorry for, you know, you having this experience. I'm really, really sorry.
That's
you know,
beautiful.
Can you feel the touch? You know, and it's not from him, it's from me. But I'm not there, but I need you to feel, you know, my hand on your hand saying, I'm so sorry for what happened to you. Yeah, so it works as well, you see.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. So I want to switch gears. We have another few minutes to talk about other strategies to continuing to deepen emotion, heighten emotion. What have you found that might be a little different from our usual, you know, lots of validation and lots of repetition and using imagery and all those typical ways in which we heighten, including silence, as you were saying, Simona, creating space, right? Repeating attachment, heightening words, handles, it's longing. What else in terms of online work you found helpful? So maybe Simona, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I do what I normally do. Yeah, so exactly what you just said. I echo all this stuff, and you know, using the touch. I mean, you know, this modeling by touch, even if in the beginning it's the touch of the partner, but for me, and then, you know, this is so much modeling that in stage 2, kind of they will do it without asking. They will touch each other when they are very really deep moments, because we are expecting that in stage 2 we have the compassion. So we are expecting that, you know, the partner wants to be there for the other, and they already kind of learned that touch can be very, very helpful for somebody in distress. Yeah, so this is why it's so important to model this from the beginning. And sometimes I direct them more. I mean, depends very much on how they stay, as we said, in the bed or on a couch, because as you see, when they are in the office, especially when they have these deep enactments about, you know, their deepest fear or the need, they kind of have to look to each, I mean, they are close, yeah.
Right.
Sometimes when they stay, you know, in the room, yeah, that I can redirect them, like, can you look at her? Can you see her? Can you look at her and tell her that you need, you know, to be accepted, or, you know, such, you know. So I'm trying to really create a deep moment that they can use the touch, they can use looking to each other. Yeah, this is apart from the other techniques that we normally use.
Normally do. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Irina, how about you?
I do agree. I think a lot of the work stays the same pretty much, given what we talked about, kind of more verbal engagement on our part and relying on different cues. Also, what I found that, you know, maybe enactments in their natural habitat can provide very rich information, because they're in their homes or in their beds or kind of in a place where it's almost just them, and then a therapist is on the screen. So I use quite a bit of enactments in general, but also in this modality as well. I think it's kind of using each other or having the partners to use each other in this process can be quite helpful, I think.
Right. And I love you're saying they get to do it in their natural environment, which is what we usually want them to start doing.
Yeah. Right.
And now maybe there's something, who knows, maybe there's something about it that will speed up the process about being able to talk to each other at home, because they are at home.
Exactly. And we don't know that. I mean, that's sort of the new territory, right, for us to explore how, whether it's kind of speeds up the process or how it actually affects us.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, there was a question that we would do the same things that we do in the office when people reject or refuse enactments, right? Whether it's touch or anything else. We're going to validate, right, that there's a good reason for it. It's hard right now, and then we will process, right? So what happened? What happened inside of you when you know, I even said this idea of her touching you, something came up, right? Tell me more about that, and then might heighten the longing that you wish that you know, could take in that touch, but right now you're so angry, not because you don't want it, but because you're mad, and you're mad that, you know, here you are and you're disconnected. And so then we can do that enactment back. I had a session this week where it was kind of more of a stage 2 work we're doing, even though, again, you know, the coronavirus was the topic and the health and the worries, but it all went back to the same longing and pain. And my partner in the withdrawing position was talking, but I couldn't quite tell I could pick up something, but couldn't quite tell. So I asked the wife to tell me, what does she see on his face, which we usually might ask anyway. And she said, I see tears. And he started crying more, right? And we talked about, what do those tears mean to you? But even her looking at him in that moment actually heightened the emotion.
Yeah.
So we can not just touch, but also just looking at each other. What do you see? Tell me what you see. Might might be additional.
Absolutely.
I mean, we would do it anyway, but here it's another venue.
You know, another thing that occurred to me, and I love that that you use the partner, because we may not see sort of the first signs of tears. Sometimes we don't see when the legs start shaking, right? Or when other bodily reactions that we would cue us in the room. And yet we rely not on just verbal communication, we also rely on voice and the quality of the voice. We may lose some of the, I don't know, coloration of the face and other physiological expression of emotion, but we can use our verbal kind of interventions to cue into the body more, right? What is happening in your body? What is happening kind of in your legs or whatever that might be, but kind of helping them cue into their physiological response and then communicate it verbally to us.
Right. That's a great idea, to even, again, be more explicit that usually I might see things, but now I need your help even more. And it's okay if you don't know, but let's take a moment to notice. Which that brings me to the thing that we always say, but I think it's even more important online, is slowing down. Slowing down and, not worrying about, accomplishing something, because if, the work needs to go step by step. Yesterday, I think I repeated myself probably at least 10 times, saying to the partner, I know there's a lot, but I really want to make sure. So there's this piece, and then there's this piece, and then there's this piece, and then it connects to this piece. And then I did it again because I needed that, and I think they need that. And in the office, I might have done, instead of 10, maybe 8, but here, sort of, let's slow it down. Slow it down for me, for you guys. I guess before we talk about, there was a question before we talk about sort of how to maybe finish the session and check in or set up if the couple is escalated. What do you do in the sessions, in online sessions, for you when you're feeling kind of dysregulated or lost or, confused? Irina, I'll start with you.
So self of the therapist, I think. I think about self of the therapist a lot, and every time I kind of talk to my trainees about it, it's an extremely important, because we, as I think any psychotherapist, but especially in EFT, we are the instrument of intervention, right? So our mind, our bodies, this is what we have to help other people. And so this is extremely important. I think it starts with us. And so taking time to ground ourselves. And of course, we're bound to be lost sometimes. And there will be times when it's, especially now, I think, because we are still navigating very turbulent waters with what's going on out there. And yet we have to make ourselves the wise, secure, safe kind of attachment figure for our couples, despite what we might be going through. So I think having space to juggle that and being very honest with yourself and checking in with yourself is important. And I think just current times may affect our ability to be as present as we would be in the regular kind of more stable times. And so it might require just a little extra energy on our end, and sort of very explicit checking in with yourself. Now, in terms of what to do when things kind of get out of hand in the session, I think, again, it's slowing things down, intervening, maybe taking a pause and saying, you guys are moving very fast. I'm getting a little lost here. Can we pause? Can we just take a deep breath all together? I just want to make sure that I don't lose both of you, but there's a lot happening and I'm a little getting lost because you're very fast, right? And just kind of being very authentic and explicit about that can can slow things down and maybe create a moment of de-escalation.
Right, right. And I think it's even more important now to keep, we do this all the time, but to keep reminding the couple that the escalation or the fighting or the upset is about the disconnect, is about the loss of that, you know, that special bond in this moment. I think repeating that this is painful for both of them, that this is something that we're fighting for. I found myself repeating it even more and bringing it up in sessions, because I think it does have a potential to kind of calm things down a bit more for all of us, because I think it helps me as well to like, okay, this is why this is so hard, because we're you know, they're in distress because of the disconnect. And yeah, how about you, Simona? Anything for you, from you?
Yeah, I mean, there are more aspects here. So online for us can create, especially if we don't go to the office, for instance, and we do the online from home. So this will be challenging as well, you know, to know where the children are in the same time that we have to give support for other people that have the children in the room, for instance. So I would say we need to be aware and to be more self-compassionate, because we are doing the most we can do, the best we can do. We give a humanistic support, like I'm here for you, and sometimes maybe once in 10 sessions, somehow you can hear my child, that even if I talked or has a nanny or whatever, stays with the daddy, it can happen, that is louder than should be. And I would say that we are all human, and it's sad, but in the same connecting somehow, that all the world, no matter how developed or underdeveloped you know, the countries are, they are going through the same experience, which is so connecting. We all understand how bad this is, that we need to adjust and to be flexible. And I would say, look, I'm so sorry, you know, my child just, you know, I don't know, did something in the other room. So but and I'm sorry, and you know, and in the same time, let's come back and let's see what happened, because of course sometimes clients ask you what's happening, you know, it's okay, and so on. But we have just to remind ourselves that we are normal persons. We have a family that now interferes very much with our profession somehow. We want it or not. That's the times that we are living, and we need to be self-compassionate. But remember that we can be kind of safer for our clients, that we are in our families, because we have this, you know, stronger, wiser attachment for them, like we have for our children. We know we will protect them, we will do our best. But you know, sometimes parents can be distracted as well.
You mean
but we
sometimes?
But I mean, I guess this helps. We are really doing a good thing. We are, you know, we are giving help in these conditions, under these circumstances.
And I thank you. I mean, I think it brings me back always to remembering Sue talking about, this is a humanistic model. We're all in the same struggle, in the same dilemmas. And, you know, I might let you down, and I might disappoint you, and then I'm going to try to repair it, and we're going to try to do it together. I think, you know, even more normalizing, and now it's not that hard, you know, to say, makes me nervous too, or I'm confused too, to really sort of join them. So, and before we stop, just that last question, how do you end session for a couple who is still escalated? Maybe a quick minute. Simona, anything for you when you're leaving them in their home and they're fighting?
I mean, I have to. But of course, I mean, I do what I would normally do. Like you know, when I see the time ends up, I summarize, and as well I tell them that, hey guys, this will happen again and we will figure it out, but please be safe, stay safe, you know, foster safetyness, you know, take care, because, you know, if you now you do something, then it will be harder and harder. But I understand why it is happening, you know.
Right.
It's just next time we will start from here, and we will process again and again until the things will calm down. Yeah.
Right. Right. How about you, Irina?
I love this suggestion, of course, to end with a lot of validation. I also sometimes talk to my couples actually explicitly about, after the session, what can we do to make sure that you do stay safe? Maybe can you guys go to, do you need to take a little bit of space? Do you need to refocus? Can maybe one of you take a walk? But just talking through potential strategies, just acknowledging that this is really hard, and organizing and making it more coherent, hopefully will bring de-escalation, and then bringing in some maybe concrete strategies about the session. Can you know, make some tea or something like that to
go? You can
make a
still go
plan.
for walks for in those countries that don't have the shelter in place. So
go on
take
the
a walk,
balcony, take a
right?
shower.
Headphones, listen to some soothing or rapping music, whatever makes you feel sort of more connected. And like a bit of moratorium on, I'm not giving you permission to talk about the relationship for the rest of the day. That's it. You did such a good work today. You're done. Now till next time. So anyway, thank you guys so much for taking the time. I know there's a lot more to say, but I find myself already feeling a bit calmer for next week. I gave me some ideas, and please, our participants, you know, reach out to each other to support. Don't be alone. And again, I'm so grateful to Sue for creating this model. It's, you know, each time it's a reminder, especially in such hard times. Thank you, Simona from Romania.
Thank you.
Please stay safe and healthy. And Irina, the same to you. Thank you for taking
my
the
pleasure.
time.
And I'm happy to be a resource to anyone who have questions or follow-up questions. Feel free to reach out if there's some contacts.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do, I will post this video on NYCEFT, NYCEFT.org. I'll figure it out today, later today. And I will put both Simona and Irina's contact information there. Please reach out. Thank
Absolutely,
you.
anytime.
Thank you.
We need each other at these times, so happy to be part of the community.
We are community, no matter what time is it, Simona, in Romania?
So it's 6 p.m. here.
6 p.m. So she's getting ready for dinner, and I'm getting ready for work. So
thank you, Zoya, for organizing and pulling this together.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, and I'm going to end the meeting.
All right. Goodbye,
okay.
everyone.
Bye-bye.